Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. It's the boxing news edition. Breaking news last night. AJ set to accept £50 million in step aside to let the unification fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. I should say unification, Undisputed. For this year, obviously AJ stepping in for the winner. We're going to talk through it. I'm here with Rick. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, please help us out, give us a like and subscribe, leave a comment. We're getting closer to that milestone of 100 subscribers, so yeah, please help us out. Yeah, how are we doing?
All good, not bad. Still not much going on in the boxing world. Now we're talking about this, but it's all kind of rumors, hearsay, and not much action at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it's the 24th of January. The calendar is going to get kicking, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. There's a few fights, you know, sort of here and there in January. But what have you been doing in January to keep yourself entertained, apart from watching Cobra Kai?
Don't think the viewers really need to know all this, do they? So we'll be going down in subscribers if I indulge.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I still don't fully buy into this step aside. I did hear rumors about it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then obviously it started to gain a little bit of momentum sort of tail end of last week. But now there's a couple more kind of credible sources. I think Gareth A. Davies. I even saw something from Michael Benson as well, who's usually a pretty good source. But yeah, looking like, I mean, where do you sort of stand on this? Do you buy it? Do you think it's going to happen?
I'm not sure. I mean, I saw AJ did a video today, and he was very much saying, you know, nothing's been agreed. I've not said I'm stepping aside. He's not seen a contract. He didn't say I wouldn't. He just said nothing's kind of planned. So I think there's a situation in Joshua's head where it will happen, where it could happen. It's whether they can get to that, whether they can please him, I suppose. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'm leaning towards it won't happen. I think 60-40 that it won't happen. You know, I can never say his name, but Usyk's manager came out saying it's 50-50 where it's going to happen. And he's probably going to be looking at a more sunny side up. But yeah, I don't get the feeling Joshua's like 100% against it. I just think he's seeing news and he's not agreed to anything, and you know, he's come out and reacted to that, which actually he might get more peed off about it and go, right, sorry, I'm just not doing anything. I'm gonna, you know, fight for my belts. I mean, my view on it is, because I mean, we had a bit of a text exchange this morning when we saw, well, last night when we saw the news, is that under the right conditions, I think it's probably not a bad thing for him.
Yeah.
I know some people will say, oh, you know, he's bottled it and all that, but I don't buy into that, because I don't think losing to someone and then, you know, it might not be the next fight, but the fight after that, you're either fighting them again or the person that beat them. It's not really ducking. You're basically stepping aside for one fight when you can have it, while you can have another yourself for a big amount of money, and then you're either going to fight the guy who beat you or you're going to fight the person that beat him. So I don't, you know, it's not a oh, I'll step aside and then, you know, I'll come back to it a few years later. It's like, well, I'll have one fight, then I'm either going to fight that guy again or, you know, but it's got to be that if he steps aside 15 million, there's no conditions to fight the winner. I definitely don't think he'd do that. But if he did, then I'd probably agree to say that, you know, it doesn't match his legacy claims and wanting to be undisputed. Also, it's kind of, you know, at the moment, he only needs 2 fights to become undisputed. This may mean he only needs 1 fight.
Yeah.
Plus, again,
he'll probably have a tune-up fight as well, though, wouldn't he, in the interim?
Yeah, but he may have the contract where if he lost the tune-up fight, he can still fight for that title.
Yeah.
You know, he could fight in Ortiz, get a beat, but on paper, he's still got to fight for undisputed. Tarnishes it massively, but still.
Yeah, it does. But also, governing bodies don't give a shit about, you know, rematch clauses and all that kind of stuff. So the WBO or the IBF could actually call and go, look, you can't defend against AJ, or if you do, you're not doing it with our belt. Because that's how Tyson Fury lost the IBF, if you remember, after he beat Klitschko.
I think that's why it won't happen.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what they're trying to do at the moment. I think they're trying to get the governing bodies to play ball. Because I think that they've got a thing that says, right, I get the feeling the fighters might be comfortable, but the belts have got to do the right thing, especially for AJ. It's got to be right. I'll let this happen if all the belts are there for the next fight.
If I was in the AJ camp, it's up to, you just cannot trust anything that's happening on Top Rank side, because accepting this deal now, who knows what kind of fuckery is going to go. What if Tyson Fury gets a rematch clause against Usyk, and there's all sorts of other fuckery that could go on. And again,
they can't do that if they can't. They can't do a rematch clause and then a clause with Josh. You can't do that. The loser out of all this potentially, and I don't know what they do with him, is Dillian White.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, you could argue that if there is an undisputed fight, that the WBC has every right to make Dillian White wait, because that is not against the norm to go right for an undisputed fight or a unification. We'll let those fight. It's more if the AJ deal's done, because that puts the WBC belt on hold for 2 fights, which again isn't unlike the WBC, but it's taken the P a bit. So whether there might be a 4-way agreement here trying to be done, where it's like, let them 2 fight, the winner fights Joshua, and then the winner of that, maybe not for all the belts, but for at least 1 belt, fights White, and everything's being papered, and White gets step aside when the second fight happens, when the Joshua winner fight, he'll get some big step aside from that.
Yeah.
So he's like, right, okay, well, I don't fight for the title this year, but I get big step aside, and I'm guaranteed that
I just don't
complicate the hell and whether you can make it happen. But I think that's the only way to make everybody happy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like, Joshua's not going to step aside if it's just 15 million and that's it. I just can't. I'd be gobsmacked.
Yeah.
But if it's 15 million and a shot at all the belts in the second half of the year, possibly. I think you should grab it.
Yeah. Just a quick one. Are you on your Wi-Fi? Because it just keeps on sticking a little bit, the picture.
I don't know, actually. Check. I might not be, because I was at the gym. Bear with me.
Just a quick. Here's my question. Why is Team Fury doing all of this now? Like scrambling, trying to get a undisputed fight with Usyk. Why are they doing it all now? Like, when did Tyson Fury beat Wilder, and when did Usyk beat AJ? It's like months ago. And now it's like they've just all of a sudden got a hard on for the undisputed fight on all the belts. I think it basically stems from the fact that Team Fury, Top Rank, Queensbury, they do not want to fight Dillian White. They don't want to give Dillian White a shot, which is what I said like 2 months ago, and I couldn't see it happening.
It's not the first time I've heard of the undisputed. I mean, I remember us talking about possibility of it. It's definitely got stronger, but I think we heard rumours of it in December.
But it was pretty much shot down, wasn't it? Just saying, like, Usyk's tied up. He's fighting AJ. They're rematching. And now it's all of a sudden sort of gather pace. Yeah. So
I mean, let's have it right, though. Why wouldn't you want to fight? He's got every right to want to fight for the undisputed more than the White fight. But, I know what you're saying. There was no talk. There was no.
But my point is, like, Fury doesn't even talk about Dillian White. It doesn't fit. He never goes, I want to fight Dillian White. I know I could, but it's always we'll talk about anybody else. He's been talking about Francis Ngannou this last week, and that's been sort of trending. It's like, why are you talking about a UFC fighter?
He does a bit. He does have a back and forth with Dillian White on Twitter sometimes, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think Fury was pretty convinced he'd be fighting Joshua for all the belts. and you know, the Dillian White, the White fight, the White fight may not happen, and then it all got screwed up, I suppose. So
yeah. So, gun to your head, does Fury Usuk happen next?
Probably not.
No, I agree.
But wouldn't rule it out. I'm not like absolutely not. Just think there's too many obstacles.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he takes it. But on the other hand, I actually don't think it would be necessarily a bad move. I think for the stage that he's at now, you know, he's still kind of, I mean, I don't know if he's set to announce his train or if he's announced his new trainer yet. You know, it's the smart move is to have a tune-up fight with your new trainer, and then go back into it rather than go back into it with your new trainer. Yeah, I mean, but I think he loses a lot of credibility if he takes stuff aside. I really do believe that.
I think he does, and then it's forgotten about quickly as long as he wins his fight. And you know, if it's announced tomorrow, there'll be a reaction. But if it goes to plan, come October, it'll be in front of the winner. Will everyone be saying he bottled it?
Yeah.
There'll be an initial reaction.
Yeah.
And then you know, come to realize that in you know, around October time, he'll be facing either Usuk or Fury, if that's the deal that's been done. I agree that he probably deserves some criticism if it's just 15 million and that's it.
Yeah.
But what's like 6 months to wait for the you know, the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ortiz would be a good. I mean, I'm not sure that'd happen. Ortiz would be a good one because it's some credibility, even though I probably get more credibility than he deserves. He's there for the taking. He's southpaw, which is useful if you've got to fight Usuk again, and you know, we know Fury can switch. You know, and a live-ish opponent to some degree, but somebody should kind of deal with. And it wouldn't be out of the question because, you know, he hasn't got many more miles on the clock, and you know, a big money fight against Joshua, you know, earns him and promoters a lot of money, and he puts in a good performance, he's still kept his value.
Yeah.
And if he wins, I mean, here's the problem Joshua would have. If he wins and Joshua's done that deal, I mean, it may be a deal that says if he loses his next fight, the deal's over. But he's not bringing a belt to town, and he's not bringing, you know, if someone beats him, it's not necessarily they get a shot at anything.
No.
But he can command enough money to interest most people. You know,
I think so.
It's a Wallins or someone like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, tricky. I mean, I think any kind of, I just want it sorted really, because
I do. It's a fucking mess. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I just rather know what's going on, because if it's the rematch, then great. Look forward to that. Though, you know, I will be going in fancy Usuk. And then hopefully, if that's the case, we get to see White Fury, which I'd probably be looking forward to more.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think that Dillian White versus Tyson Fury is a more entertaining build-up and an entertaining fight.
Yeah,
I really do. And I just want to see it, but there's so much more to play on that.
And I see, I see both not straightforward to call.
No, yeah, true.
Which is always interesting. So I'd lean towards Usuk in the rematch, and I'd lean slightly more towards Fury in that fight. But you know, I'd give both underdogs, you know, 35-40% chance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, both alive in that fight for sure. When is the purse bid due to take place for Fury White now? Is it going to be this week?
I think 26th. I think Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
I mean, if he has pushed back again, it just becomes ridiculous. I mean, it's just like, what's the point in setting these things?
Yeah, because I don't think they're not close to a deal. I don't think. But yeah, I don't know. No.
But I mean, I've never known a purse bid being put. That's the third time it's been pushed back. I've never known that. I think I've definitely known purse bids being pushed back once, maybe twice. Hey, I don't know the history of every purse bid, but it's bloody rare, this.
Yeah. But I don't think the WBC, there's no skin off their nose, is it? It's just more messing around for Dillian White. All right. Well, I think we've talked that one to death. I don't think there's any more we can add. There's no confirmation yet, no official announcement of even an offer going out to Team AJ.
Here's a question for you, putting you on the spot. Come the end of the year, who has the heavyweight belts? Where are they?
I think they're fragmented by the end of the year, but I think we'll still be saying the consensus number one is Tyson Fury. I think, yeah, but I can't say it with 100% confidence. You just don't know what's going to happen. What do you say?
Yeah, I lean towards that. It's strange, really. I've got weird feelings about different things. It's a bit rock, paper, scissors. A lot of this to me, it's like I don't fancy Joshua against Usyk, and I fancy Fury against Usyk, but I'd give Joshua a pretty good chance against Fury.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like this the whole style thing, you know.
Yeah.
And because you've got White in the mix, who's just be a pain for all of them, but
yeah.
And because of that, you just don't know what will Wilder do and stuff. So it's exciting in that sense.
It is, yeah.
I just hope we don't get a year of like they all just fight once and stuff like that.
I, for one, would really hope that we do see the Fury Usuk Undisputed. I think that's a great and a very, very intriguing fight, very interesting fight. And that's not a walkover for Fury. Like he's always struggled against small heavyweights, and Usuk is very, he is small, fights really well on the inside. Yeah, I just don't, southpaw. That's not a walk in the park for Fury at all.
No, I mean, I don't think any fight's a walk in the park for anyone.
No, but yeah. All right, staying with the heavyweights. Bob Arum is willing to sling Jared Anderson in with Deontay Wilder this year, as early as this year. Thoughts?
I think it's, as we see before, using someone's name a little bit. Probably would if the money was right, but doubt that they'll get to that point. Can't see a world where Wilder would be fighting someone coming through the ranks, really. But, if they were to fight at the back end of the year, it'd be interesting, and I'm not quite sure who I'd back. We need to see what Wilder we've got.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wilder has a very easy touch in-house fight with PBC. There's talk of like Andy Ruiz and people like that. I really don't think I think they give him a very, very easy touch, a walkover job to get his confidence back.
Good old Gerald Washington.
Isn't he retired? I thought he was retired now.
They'll bring him back for this, won't they?
Washington was outboxing Deontay Wilder in their fight. I remember that. Like Washington was like dealing with him, and then obviously Wilder just came in with the equalizer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I'd back in that. Anderson, Wilder, if they were to fight tomorrow, probably lean a bit more towards Anderson, based on what I saw in the last fight for Deontay Wilder. I just think his confidence is shot to pieces. But yeah, let's see if he comes back. More heavyweight news. Filip Hrgovic, Tony Yoka not going to take place because of Tony Yoka's contract with Martin Piccoli. So Yoka's going to have to deal with Martin Piccoli first, if he can.
I mean, it's just more chaos, and I don't know what's going on, why people don't know what they've agreed to. And that fight was on with Piccoli, as far as I was concerned. Then suddenly it was off, and they think they can just get away with it, and now it's held up even more, and it's just annoying. Yeah. Why don't they just have the fight, and then we could be talking about Hrgovic, in a few months.
Yeah, it's got to be very frustrating for Hrgovic. I mean, like, how old is he now? He's got to be getting on. Maybe sling him in with the Savage.
Oh yeah,
that'd be all right. All right. Well, yeah, just a few other sort of bits as well. Gary Russell Jr. Loses his WBC title to Mark Magsayo from the Philippines, promoted by Manny Pacquiao. So that looks like the end of his reign. I don't know if there's talk about him rematching or maybe even stepping up a weight. But I mean, Gary Russell Jr., what a talent he was, and just incredibly inactive.
Was it like 6 fights in 6 years or something like that? He's had?
Or maybe even less than that.
2015, he won the belt, and I think that was either his 6th or 7th defense.
Yeah, I've won it back after. Well, yeah, Lomachenko sort of dealt with him pretty handedly. Yeah.
You see, Haney was, onto him on Twitter, saying he got beat by a bum.
Nice and original. What's going on with the Kambosos? Is he going to be announcing his next fight soon? I know they're talking about him fighting in Australia, but apparently that's either going to be Loma or Haney, right? Devin Haney.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm just not getting. You see the Hearn, Warrens, and all those interviews, and everything just feels stuck. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
I mean,
it's one of the frustrating things about being a boxing fan is just watching these people going back and forth on Twitter and having like one fight a year.
Yeah, and the other, one thing that we hadn't actually spoke about, but that there's old Yard versus Buatsi's come up, and apparently Hearn's put an offer in, and they're considering it, but they don't expect it to happen. And why would he if he's got a potential shot at the title? Yard.
Yeah, it's a frivolous attempt, really, isn't it? It's like, why are you bothering? That he's not going to take it.
Because he could well be fighting. Who's the title holder? Another junior.
Joseph
Smith.
Yeah.
He could well fight him.
Yeah.
Apparently, and then you'd probably fight Callum Johnson if you win the title, keep it in house. Yeah. So the Buatsi fight is really far away for me.
Yeah, it is. I actually don't think we'll ever see it, which is a real shame. A real shame. If it was in-house, if both fighters were with the same promoter, then I think it happens for sure. It's no different to a George Groves, James DeGale. Both went on in their own right to have fantastic careers and win a world title in their own right. And it was just a great kind of rivalry, both on the way up. I really see as, Buatsi and Yard, probably a much more explosive fight as well, and a more interesting fight than Groves DeGale. But I think that's an interesting comparison, but it's just because they're with opposing promoters. And actually, Buatsi is potentially, Matchroom's next star, and Anthony Yard is one of Queensbury's next stars. Why are they going to, either of them take the risk? Seems Matchroom seem more confident, but yeah.
I think the only way they fight is, taking away the fact they may end up on being promoted by the same person, but that's a big if, is if they both got a belt and it's for, for 2 belts, basically.
Yeah,
I think that's when it could happen. Even that's tricky, but
even that's tricky, and it's almost like there's more to lose. Then it's like, well, he's world champion now. Do you want to, risk it?
Yeah, or it might just be a Kell Brook Khan thing where they do it when they're in their kind of mid to late 30s.
Yeah, the countdown is on. What we got? 4 weeks. 4 weeks until that's on. I can't. Are you going to it?
Not ruled it out. I've missed the tickets. And there's some real humdinger prices. I don't really expect them to come down, so I doubt it. But doubt it.
All right, let's.
I bet it'll be an awesome atmosphere.
Yeah, that's going to be really good. I would like to go to that myself, but I'm ruled out for that one. All right, is there any other news? I think that is pretty much it.
There's a fight this weekend.
Yes, Makabu.
You butchered the name.
Makabu versus Mchuno for the WBC cruiserweight title.
Sneezing.
Yeah. Not going to be. It's not one for me. Maybe we could do a live watch along for that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, is Makabu fighting Canelo? What's happened with that? That's gone on.
I don't think so. What I'm hearing on Canelo is Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo, I should say.
I saw something that on Boxing Boy saying someone said it's Bones Ellis said that's 50-50. Not sure that's 50-50. What weight would that be at then?
That'll be at 168. Jamal Charlo is going to step up, I believe, to 168. I think that's been the plan. Yeah, I think that is probably the most interesting and intriguing fight that Canelo can take outside of maybe Beterbiev. I think that's probably a toss up between Beterbiev and Jamal Charlo. I think Jamal Charlo gives Canelo the biggest problems out of anybody. I think I can right now anyway.
I mean, maybe he's because it's I kind of agree with Hearn on this. It's kind of, you want to get a legacy. I mean, he's already got legacy, hasn't it? Let's be honest. But if he went and got undisputed at light heavy, that would be some going. But he's not, even though he's been around for a long time, he's not mega old, so he does have time still to
do that.
Some of these, and then go up. And actually, it might suit him waiting a little bit and then going up. And this fight is probably, like you say, a lot will see it as a more ballsy fight. And the pay-per-views for the planned fight weren't huge. This is one where he could, it could breach the $1 million mark, I suppose, with Charlo, because he's quite well known. So get the
a better chance of it, I think.
What did Plant get? Was it 600?
800,000 approximately.
Then I thought the Charlo would get you over $1 million then.
Yeah, I think it would. And I think the light heavyweight, conquering light heavyweight, I think is an interesting option. I just wouldn't want him to go up much higher than that, because Roy Jones Jr., when he did that, when he went up through the weights and then he came back down to light heavy, he was never the same again. And I worry that something similar would happen to Canelo. He would lose the sharpness, or that we would just lose something in him going back.
I mean, I'd like to see him fight the Charlo fight and then have 5-6 fights at light heavy to get all the belts and call it a day.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, he doesn't. The problem is he doesn't have a rival anymore. When you think about it, like Golovkin was the obvious kind of matchup for Canelo for a few years, and he kind of swerved the Golovkin fight for some time, and then eventually he got in the ring with him. But Golovkin was kind of past it then.
It's rare. It's rare for any boxer. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's rare for any boxer in their career to get more than one big rival.
Yeah.
Even if you go through the weights, it's just the way it goes. If you look at people's careers, very few have more than one big rivalry.
Yeah, very few. The one that you probably does stick out would be Manny Pacquiao, but he was a freak in terms of he had rivalries with Timothy Bradley, Eric Morales, Barrera, and Marquez, of course. But yeah, he's an outlier, I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah, there's always going to be a few, but you go back in history, it's kind of, I mean, you could say Mike Tyson had more than one rivalry, but his main one always felt like Evander Holyfield.
Yeah,
the Lewis one was a rivalry, but I'd say the Evander Holyfield was a lot bigger because it was there early on in his career before he went to prison, and it was there after. Even though it didn't happen, I always feel that Lewis's biggest rival was like Bo, and it never happened.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks everybody for listening. Tune in. We'll do a video next week. We're going to do a prediction on Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams, and any other fights that come up that look quite interesting. But yeah, I think that's going to be one that we'll do. And speak to you soon.